right, welcome to the Davis Download. Today we're going to talk about some ethical dilemmas with the Trump administration and the shooting of these narco boats in the Caribbean. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Sounds great. Let's take a look at a few articles here. Let's start with this one from Fox News. Fox News reports the Coast Guard was able to seize more than 20,000 pounds of cocaine in a single drug interdiction mission on Tuesday, the largest seizure of national security drugs being poured into the country, completed in the country's history. At least one's on record that we're aware of that have been distributed out. But we can even start with that and maybe incorporate the other articles later on. But with this, my initial question just was, we consider what the Democrats are proposing here is that there is some outrage. I even read that some Republicans were outraged about this. Mm-hmm. Like Rand Paul was very upset that these drug lords were being shot at. There was a video released, I believe, by the White House that talked about how these drug lords were being shot at. They were disabling the boat. This is how precise these snipers are. They were disabling the boat and then keeping all these guys alive. Of course, previously they were striking them with drones and they were taking out these drug lords. So let's propose this question here, kind of getting into the debate. Should these drug lords get a trial date? Or should these boats just be struck and, the drugs fall to the bottom of the ocean? What do we think on this?
I think it's always better if people don't die. That's always the better route to take. If you knock out a drug lord, there's just another one. So it'd be better. You want to stop the operation. It's never just one person. So eliminating the head of the snake, or I'm sure the actual drug lord is not actually on this boat.
Yeah.
Right? So you get all of that, you get all of the stuff, but yet you're just delaying the problem because it's just going to come back. So I think trying to actually have an operation and shut down the trade as opposed to just bombing a couple boats, I think we're just going to do this every time we see a boat now?
I think it can be effective, though, because one, if you are involved in any type of criminal activity, you're liable to lose your life. Mm-hmm. That's anything. You're robbing the grocery store. You're liable to lose your life. So to say that it is, they didn't get justice. Well, I think that's once you're doing a crime, in the midst of a crime, if you get hurt or you get killed or wounded, then that's on you, I think.
Yeah.
And then to your point of why not cut off the head? I think, it's pretty hard to catch these guys. It's pretty hard to stop them. So it's going to be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
You hit out enough people. No one wants to run it. How much money can they afford to give? So honestly, if you think about it, if my thought is I may get arrested, okay, I'll take $100,000 to get arrested. My thought is they might drop an entire bomb on my head. Okay, you're going to have to give me a little bit more. And then at what point does the drug lord say it's not worth it?
What is the drug lord going to do? Retire and then go into his 9-to-5? Once you get into this trade, it's you're all in. It's not you know what? It's kind of been going great. The economy is not going well. I think I'm going to transition over into marketing and or what it's not like you can really transition. So I get what you're saying, but again,
so I'm not saying they're going to transition their work, but I think they're going to transition to where they're dropping it off. So instead of shipping it up into the U.S., they're going to ship it to China, Cambodia, wherever. And if they want to try to get it into the U.S., that's on them.
Yeah.
But I'm going to minimize my death toll. I think that's logical.
Yeah, but I also think there's a reason that they always are trying to get it into America because it's very profitable here.
And no president has dropped a bomb on them before.
Yeah, and this is the tension. So CNN's Dana Bash, she's quoted as saying this: I want to turn to new questions around the first U.S. military strike in September on a ship that the administration says was carrying drugs. Now, sources tell CNN after the missile struck the boat, there were survivors, and that a second strike was launched to kill anyone who was left. And she's targeting her questioning and her critique, particularly at Pete Hegseth and, his leadership in all of this. Again, the ethical question is, do these guys deserve a trial date? Should these guys just be struck and just say, hey, it is what it is, it's part of the collateral of the damage? or do we think these people, could they be harboring maybe innocent people on board?
I think that's probably what they're going to start doing. I mean, like we said, these guys who are running these trades or running these operations, they're going to win the game.
Yeah.
Right. They're all like they're not. So they're going to do something if they have to put, like, I don't think it's above or below a one of these cartel leaders or whatever to be like, hey, if they're going to start bombing boats, we're going to put 50 innocent people on there, and then you're going to have to deal with those I don't think that is below their integrity or anything like that. So I think that's something to consider. And I think.
So you're saying like kidnapping people, putting innocent people on the boat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that's because again these guys are like they're all in, like they're going to try to make, and I think there's even a little bit of like a pride or inferiority complex now that like it's difficult. They want to be the guy to figure out, like, you know what I mean? It's almost like this pride kind of power. Okay, you're going to make it hard, well, we're going to figure it out and we're going to take over we're still going to get into that territory.
Yeah, but I think too, if you think about, New York City in like the 70s, 80s and stuff like that, when these mob bosses were running New York, they had to take them down, and slowly but surely those old mob heads stopped. Now, did everyone in the crime sphere stop? No. But it's not as if it is like 1980s in New York City. You're not just running into the Gambinos or something like that, because the state and the federal government had a big, huge response, and they went and targeted these people. I think it's the same. Are you going to stop all drug imports? No. But can we stop a lot of it?
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think it's tremendous that the Trump administration has taken this initiative. To your point earlier, what administration has done this before, right? And you look even at the polling, I mean, it's like, I think it's close to 90% of people support this, Democrats and Republicans alike. And you're really not going to get a lot of pushback from people when you're saying, yeah, we're taking out drug lords. Yeah, we're taking out people transporting drugs internationally in international waters. And that's Trump's argument through the whole process, has just been this. Look, if you're going to be in international waters and saying you're coming into U.S. territory, we're going to make sure that you're bringing the appropriate things. First of all, Trump's vetting everything through the tariff process, right?
Yeah.
And he's not slapping tariffs on these drugs, but what he is slapping is missiles, and he's slapping drones on these.
Should.
What's that?
Tariffs.
Tariffs on drugs? I don't know about that. We don't want drugs coming into the country, Corey, but
make a lot of money.
Come on.
This guy.
We're not looking to build any profit off of the drug industry.
Ground beef is cheaper. I'm just messing with it.
I was scared there for a second.
No. Obviously, I'm very anti-drug for countless reasons. So again, it's just, I think it's always worth a question of, is there a better way? Whether there is, I think there's always, as America and built on the, right to. I know they're not necessarily American citizens, but I think it's always, is there? I think it's always worth the conversation at the bare minimum. Is there a better way?
What would you suggest?
Again, I don't know. That's why I'm not the president, but I think it's always, it's fair that whenever you do. So I think that's kind of the point of the way the founders set up the government. So that way, when they do have an action like this, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's the correct, whether it's not, like, answer for it. That's the whole point of, elections and term limits. And so I think it's always fair to ask,
I think.
No,
go ahead.
Well, I'm fine with the questioning of it, right? In the sense of this, are we doing it the right way, right?
Yeah.
But what really frustrates me, again, as I mentioned earlier, you got Senator Rand Paul, right? This guy, he just frustrates me so much, to be honest with you, right? Is he registered as an independent or as a Republican?
No, I think he's still
registered as a Republican. It's just so enraging. It's like, Trump, ultimately, I think when you look big picture, he's doing the right thing here and with many other things, helping our country, right? And you have him coming out co-sponsoring bills with Democrats, and he knows what the Democrats are trying to do to attack him in these scenarios. And to think that he would put his name on this as well, when again, what's Trump's objective here? What's he trying to do? He's trying to stop drugs from getting into the country. I mean, for example, they were saying it was 7.5 million doses of drugs in one hit job that they did. That could have come into the country, preventing that from being spread throughout the country. You think of the young people that could get addicted to that. Now, I agree, we need to make sure that things are done legally and things are done appropriately. But I mean, to really start to nitpick at some of these things, what are we doing as a country? Have we lost the moral compass so much that we say, well, I didn't really like this particular peccadillo that they decided to do it this way. That I didn't like the weapon that they did it with. But ultimately, can we just set all of that aside and say, look, this is the right thing to do for the country?
Yeah. Yeah, again, I think, too, if you try to do it, quote unquote, like through the legal channels, and I'm not saying that they're doing it illegally, but I'm saying like due process, everyone gets a court case and things like that. What court? So you're stopping boats off the shore of Venezuela. Like, does that go to Venezuela? And then does Maduro just say, hey, pardon for you, back out? Do we bring them back to the U.S. and then try them?
Yeah.
On what grounds do you do that? Right? So, like, the drugs have got to be stopped. And I honestly, like we were saying, it's in the middle of open seas. It's in waters that don't belong to anyone, international waters.
Yeah.
There is no law to the seven seas. Like, if you're going to be a pirate, then...
I'm not necessarily disagree. Isn't that what the UN and all that is for? Isn't that what all these things? Isn't that what, like,
for international waters?
Like,
or
international? Like, I don't know. Would we consider drugs in international?
Yeah, I don't think the UN has done anything of substance.
That I'm not saying they have, but I'm saying, like, in theory, isn't this the type of thing that they should be? Like, shouldn't this be on the top of their to-do lists?
But here's the thing. Let's grant you that. Let's say that's their point. Who is funding the UN? The U.S. So instead of giving you money to go investigate each little boat, I'm going to save some money and I'm just going to get rid of the boat.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with y'all doing
it. Fair. I think it's always okay to ask and think. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's beyond reproach or beyond questioning or anything like that either. But again, I think when we look big picture, the guy's doing the right thing.
So my next kind of thing, when you kind of brought it up, just kind of overall his cabinet. Is he making his kind of a cabinet is interesting if you think about it.
He's got, I think, a lot more like public faces than before. I think.
I mean, should Pete Hegseth be the Secretary of War now?
I think they changed it now to Secretary of War.
Yep.
Yeah. Secretary of Defense.
So, like, is that? I mean, what does it mean to be a qualified politician? I don't know.
I mean,
but
he's been in combat.
He's boots on the ground.
Okay.
I feel like if you have actually served in some capacity, like actually served in the military, why is that not enough? You've seen kind of, again, not just you were there in one little scrimmage and that was it, but like you saw the ins and outs, the workings of the military. I think you should be able to.
He's drawn a lot of the left's ire. They're attacking him in particular. I don't know.
That's kind of more so where I was trying to go get.
Yeah, behind the scenes, I don't know what's going on as why in particular he's their guy they hate so much.
Yeah.
But you look at his administration. I mean, when you look at the news feed that's coming out, especially from these left wing mainstream media organizations, I mean, he tends to be like their focus. Like for some reason, they want him. They want to nab him.
Well, I feel like it's three. I feel like of his appointments, it's Hegseth, Kash Patel, and Bongino.
Really?
I feel like those are the three.
I would agree with Bongino. I don't see it as much ire with Patel.
Now, like the whole story with he uses the FBI to like give his. Again, I don't know how real it is or not, but I've seen it circulating enough to where whether it's a thing, whether it's not a thing, and who knows. But like, they're giving his girlfriend or whoever, his partner, like rides when she's drunk into this, that, and the other thing, like. Stuff like that, and then, I mean, Dan Bongino was doing what we were doing, and now he's in charge of the whole...
I mean, yeah, he was a commentator, but obviously...
Before that, I think he was either CIA or FBI or something.
Yeah, something like that. Something in law enforcement.
Yeah.
But I think, too, to say just... I mean, I don't know much about Bongino thing and his girlfriend or whatever, but...
That was Patel.
Oh, Patel. What government official hasn't done stuff like that? Their son's in trouble or their daughter's in trouble, and they send out this person. I think of, Bush's daughters. They were at a party or something, and the Secret Service has to go and get them. Like, that's tax dollars, Go back, JFK. he's having rendezvous with any pretty woman that he could find.
Yeah.
And the Secret Service is backing it up. So
Yeah.
I think that's, again, is it right? No. But every political person has kind of done the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know really where I was going with it, but I just think it's worth, asking. But I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was.
I think too the other thing that makes them all lightning rods is each of them had the platform where they were making, harsh critiques on the Biden administration and things like that, and people are like, "Oh, you're the face that was coming at us 3 months ago, so now we got to come for you."
Yeah, and to a degree, that's a little bit of human nature.
Yeah.
I think too. Like, I think if a Democrat wins the next presidential election and they put, I don't know, the guys on Pod Save America or pick your, they're gonna be they're gonna be get railed against too for every decision by the other side. So I think it's just politics. And again, kind of, I guess the thing I was trying to make is again, what is a qualified politician? I don't know what qualifies you to be a politician. I don't know. And then again, the whole idea of making these choices, dropping bombs in the ocean on drug boats, but I don't know. It's an interesting thing, this American system we have.
I think the thing is, though, even who would be qualified to do that?
That's what I'm saying.
Is it a surgeon? Is it who and when? How do you determine who's qualified to make those decisions?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anybody is really qualified to run.
But someone has to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's my point. That's why I think it's we should ask hey, was there a better way to do this? Not because whether it was a Republican president, a Democrat president, an independent president, or whatever these other parties are. Again, I think it's good to ask, and even just because your guy or your party is in office, that doesn't mean you should be like, oh well, everything they. I'm not saying that's necessarily what we're doing, but just because I don't know, politics is always it's always back and forth, and I don't know.
I think
politics frustrates me.
If on issues like this, if you have a guardrail that helps you make determined decisions, I think it's really helpful. Augustine had, the just war theory. Is it a just cause? Is it from a legitimate authority, or is it just some dictator? Is it right intentions and stuff like that? I think if you have those things governing you, it's a lot easier to say, yes, I can drop a bomb. He said that it shouldn't be overly aggressive, right? You should still value the person's humanity.
Exactly.
But I think that doesn't mean that the government should never take out someone.
No,
right?
Of course
because
not.
if I can take out one person and save 10,000 lives.
Yeah, and we can actually get into the ethical component of it here in a second. But the irony of this is just so rich that the left is just strongly critiquing the smallest details of the Trump administration's execution of removing drug lords from international waters. But we just rewind just a few short months ago, and I think maybe this is what you're getting to, into the critiquing of different administrations and stuff like this. But we rewind just a few short months ago, and what was the Biden administration doing in the Middle East, right? And none of them wanted to question any of this, right? None of them wanted to question people hanging from airplanes while the United States is removing and leaving all of this military equipment in the Middle East. And nobody even cared about it in the mainstream media. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to address it. But now we got Dana Bash on CNN critiquing, should they have shot that drug lord with, 7.5 million doses of cocaine on the boat? Where was Dana Bash a few months ago when the Biden administration was leaving millions of dollars worth of military equipment in the Middle East?
I think that's ultimately the point I'm trying to make. And that'll happen the same thing if there's, whenever the next Democrat is in, it's going to be the same thing the other way. And that's my point.
Yeah, and again, I'm not opposed to the questioning. It's just ironic, I guess, and that's the hypocrisy of the mainstream media that is always going to be there. But the ethical question that comes with this, and maybe we can get into a more broader debate, is should we have death penalty type stuff like that? If we were to put these people on trial, should a culture like America, should we have the death penalty? Should we have capital punishment? And then what should that look like?
Yeah. I'll let you go first, Corey.
I don't know. I struggle with it. Again, kind of like we were just talking about I don't know. I mean, if I had to pick, I'd probably say no, because most of the people who end up on death row end up being there for 40 years anyway. Like, they end up. So it's not like, hey, well, we need to do this or else there won't be any room. Well, no, it's not like.
Yeah, but go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, I was pretty much.
I think what's the deterrent? So are we just leaving you in prison for 40 years, or if you do something that is completely heinous, like just above.
So take these drug lords for example.
Yeah, like.
Should they be in prison for the rest of their lives?
I don't think so. Because why should, someone... Now, granted, every person has the choice, right? But let's say someone in the U.S. is on these drugs, and now little Timmy loses his mom that's on crack because of these things that are imported. Was Timmy's life not worth saving if it had been stopped before it crossed the border? Now, you could say, in this analogy, poor little Timmy's mom was going to get whatever she wanted anyway. But can we not stop that before it happens? Why should the rest of this little boy's life be changed because of someone's... Honestly, the bottom line is money, right? So that someone could become rich and become a big kingpin. End it. And then, too, I don't think the death penalty is a bad thing. I know people squawk at it, but I think it helps. I think it helps society.
Does it?
I think so, because if you are going to do the most heinous crimes... then justice can be served in that way.
But my argument, if someone's going to do an absolute heinous crime that's worthy of the death penalty, I don't think they're stopping and being like, oh, the death penalty is a possibility. Like, you know what I mean? So, while I hear your point, it could be a deterrent.
Think of this, though. After every mass shooting or mass killing, a copycat comes behind. And they say, hey, this guy is just sitting in prison. I can do that as well. But if the punishment was, hey, you are gonna however you're gonna implement death, and I don't think it's got to be gruesome. I'm not saying peel off their toes and all this other stuff, but like you are not gonna continue to wreak havoc.
So from a Christian perspective, I hear this case that what if that person in prison were to engage with some type of prison ministry? Should we give this person 40, 50 years to sit in prison, hear through prison ministries and stuff like that, maybe even hear the gospel? Should we allow them that opportunity to get saved?
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know. So we're going to give people that we just talked about, we don't necessarily trust or not necessarily always the most upstanding of citizens. I'm not saying every politician is whatever, but I don't think a general description of politicians, they're a well upstanding person who's not in it for themselves at all, as we see by the constant flipping and just went off about Rand Paul. Why is he against Trump? Because it's going to be beneficial for him in 2 years to be off the Trump train early, and that's what it is. That's what all these politicians do, right? They do whatever is beneficial for them and is going to win them the next election or get them the next office, the bigger office, whatever. That I would, again, I'm not everybody.
He tried to run for president.
But so he figured out that didn't work. So, let me be a career-long politician. How do you become a career-long politician? Just win all these minor elections, right? Or get someone or have someone who's got the money to back you, unfortunately. So now we want those guys being in a sense, these are death penalty crimes, these are not death penalty crimes. I don't know. Plus, let God deal with it.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on your question. I've been mulling over here.
That's okay. I can stall for you a little bit.
Oh, I think this. One, if they... 2 parts to my answer. One, if they spent 20, 30 years apart from Christ and are doing the most heinous crimes, probably they're not going to listen to you when they get to prison. That's not to say that people don't get saved in prison. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm saying that person, they had a chance and an opportunity to accept the gospel all that time before they did whatever heinous crime it is that they did. Yeah. And then the second thing is this. The men on the cross had the same opportunity to accept Christ You had one on one side that denies him, and he dies, and that's the end. You had the other one right before his death who accepts Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So give them the opportunity. Say, hey, you are going to die, but here's the only solace I have for you.
Yeah.
And whether they genuinely believe or not.
Only God knows.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think that should be implemented into the death penalty process. I think, to your point, there are consequences to your decisions, and Scripture teaches us that that the authority figures, they don't bear the sword for no reason at all, right? Mm-hmm. There's a reason God has delegated that responsibility to them, and through the legal system that we've developed, I think in some instances there should be the death penalty. And I like that, implementing a gospel call at the last chance. But I think there has to be, because not only are you showing society and culture there are some things that are totally unacceptable, but I think even in Scripture in the Old Testament, right, there are certain things that are so heinous to God that the death penalty, even God says the death penalty is required, right? And now we don't even hold to that standard here in America, to some of the things that he called for the death penalty for, but I think it is necessary in some instances that, look, you have just done something so heinous, so terrible, you forfeited the future years of your life, mm-hmm. and that is the judgment of authority figures to decide on
that. So someone does something heinous. Do we really need the death penalty to make it clear that this is unacceptable? Like, do we need the death penalty for mass murders or things like that?
It's not the only reason, but I think that is a factor as a deterrent.
I would argue.
If there was no deterrent for stealing, then
well, there is the deterrent. We're not saying.
I'm saying if
this isn't like our last time where we said get rid of jail.
So here's the thing. I think the crime should have a punishment that is equal to it. So if you steal, however long in jail, fine. But if you murder a family, I think of that guy that I can't remember what state he was in, but he broke into the house, kills the little kid, beats the dad and the mom and all these things. He's on drugs, and they let him out of prison because of I can't remember what exactly it was that they said it was. It's mental health or something like that. And it's like, no, this family is going to carry the weight of losing their son. They're going to carry the weight of being in their home and have someone come in and brutally beat them and take everything from that sense of security. You don't get to go on and continue to be happy in your life, dandy in your cell or wherever. No, you took something that I can never get back. Yeah. So the punishment should fit the crime that you did.
Yeah, and I think when we look at the character of God and we look at one of the main themes of Scripture, it is justice, right? And that sometimes God does require justice. Many times God is very gracious and merciful. Like looking back to the first murder, right, with Cain and Abel, right? God, the consequence should have been there for Cain's own, execution, right? Yep. He should have been held accountable for that. But God was extremely gracious and generous. Now, to the point, like, how do we determine that? Again, I think that's more up to the legal system and deciding all of that. But I think there are some crimes that require that the death penalty be enacted, especially these repeat offenders. I mean, you look at the lady in North Carolina that just got stabbed in the neck with this repeat offender criminal. This guy just comes up and just for no reason just murders her. This Ukrainian refugee that left the country, came to America, was on her phone sitting on the train or the bus, whatever it was, and just gets stabbed to death, brutally murdered in cold blood. And it's just terrible, heinous crimes. And this is somebody who clearly has some mental issues and that has some demons. There's a demonic thing taking place here, and we have to eradicate it from a society.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we ever will fully anyway, but like there also can be so like, yes, that person should have still been in jail, right? But we don't like it. I feel like we don't have to make this false dichotomy of it's either death penalty or everyone's going to be running rampant doing whatever they want. Like that person still could have been in jail and that would have been fine. Now, again, that would probably be the legal system not coming up the way it should be, but it's not like the only way to have prevented that was that person should have been death penalty and on death row. You know what I'm saying?
No, but again, like I said earlier, the family that is sitting at home with the loss of their family member that they will never get back again, this guy gets to, on my dime, in a prison cell, live out and have joy, play cards or whatever else you're doing in the jail.
Well, I mean, every wrong thing you
No.
do has long-term consequence. If I run a red light and cause an accident and someone loses their life, do I deserve the death penalty? Because by that same logic,
here's the difference.
by that
The
same
difference is yours
logic,
wasn't intentional.
what if I intentionally ran the red light? What if I was like, nope, I'm beating it?
I mean, there is culpability on your
That's
part.
what I'm saying. But so by
So,
that logic, if I
again-
run a red light, death penalty because I've impacted
again,
5 other families.
Here's the thing: you intended to run the red light, but you did not intend to end a life. Whereas these people who are, dousing people with gasoline and throwing fire on them, or killing children, or whatever, their intention was not simply to run a red light, but to end that person's life, to see maximum suffering and pain. Honestly, this is where I may go off the deep end and I might lose both of you. But honestly, I think the death penalty should be even for things like rape, especially when it comes for children and things like that. If anything, that person can't win back a piece of their soul.
Yeah.
Death penalty.
Yeah, especially things with children.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't disagree, but
What we're seeing in this country, and Corey, you were pointing this out earlier, is a lot of the legal system and the justice reform stuff that people have been pushing, and with that, and I think maybe you brought up the criminal too. Was it in Chicago where this guy had like 27 prior convictions, was released, and then he was on a train or a bus in Chicago and then lit some lady on fire on the
It was
bus?
like 70. It was
70
70 prior arrests.
It's just like, what is going on? We need to be in a place in society where once you hit double-digit convictions, right? You, first of all, you're in there for life if they are, minor convictions. But once you hit double digits, right? Yeah. We're done. In baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. Yeah. But once you hit 70, okay, it's time to start thinking of the death penalty.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's crazy to
70
think.
Sure, but I would.
And then he lights a woman on fire.
No, I agree. But I would argue that the issue was he got let out 68 times. Like that's.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
But if he just stays convicted after the first 1 or 2, or let's go crazy and say 3, it probably doesn't get that far. So it was more so a failing of the legal system.
No, I think
it can be both and. He should get the death penalty for many of the crimes that he's done, and yes, the legal system is screwed up to be letting somebody out on the street with 70 prior.
I think it's like nature. I think that's kind of like the nature versus nurture.
It's both and.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of like the nature nurture environment. If he gets the penalty he should have gotten in crime 1, right? Just like same thing when we talk about, it's similar idea to when we're raising kids, right? Like if a parent lets a kid get away with whatever, they're going to keep doing whatever in large general. If you let somebody every time, like off, again, I think we can not let people off, but also not have the death penalty and accomplish what you're looking for.
The thing is, too, though, what is the purpose of prison? So, yes, it is punishment, but it's also to restore the person so that they can rejoin civilized society. If there is no opportunity or ability on their behalf to rejoin civilization, what do we do then? Because the purpose is to restore them. If you can't, I'm sorry to be the one to say it, but...
So, are you saying that people who harm society just in general have no place in it?
So, again, I think there are some things, whether you like it or not, you do have to conform to societal norms. Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing. People are like, "Oh, we shouldn't do that." I can be whatever I want. No, you can't. You live in a society. You live with other people, and your rights go as far as they can until they infringe on mine. So we should let him out, so that he can infringe on everyone else's rights and freedoms. Another one of my rights is peace. I should be able to have peace in my home. That someone's not gonna come light me on fire and burn down the whole place.
No, but I'm not disagreeing with that. I agree with you there. Can we accomplish that without that? That's what I'm saying. Can we accomplish that without the death penalty? I would argue.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. I don't know. I agree with you in the sense that yes, there are some issues we have with the legal system.
Do the job better earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that is part of the problem, but there are certain people. Maybe we put them in an insane asylum to reconcile the differences, but I think some people, yes, these violent crimes, I'm sorry, if you are raping little girls in elementary school, I'm sorry, you forfeited your right to life. I'm sorry. We'll give you a gospel call at the last execution moment, But to violate little girls, what did Jesus say? Put a millstone around their neck and throw them to the bottom of the ocean. I didn't say it, Jesus did. And so these are violent crimes that, like Eli said, you have totally ripped away that person's innocence for the rest of their life. And now they have a haunting on them the rest of their life. These are very, very evil crimes.
I agree. I'm certainly not going to defend that at all, but obviously.
The other thing is, too, what do you do with some of these liberal judges that just overturn, like we just saw in Minnesota? The judge just said, hey, I know what the jury said, but I'm not agreeing. She threw out the case. What do we do with cases like that?
That can happen either way, though.
So that's the thing. You know where it can't happen? If he's dead.
But
he'll never harm you again.
The jury, typically it goes to the jury for a death penalty, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Isn't that a grand jury? I would assume.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what that's for? But I mean, that could happen in the same way. Now, all of a sudden, now we could have people going on. Like, just as someone can throw out a case because it aligns with their ideology or beliefs, we could also have that go in the opposite way if we become more liberal with the death penalty. Be like, I don't like that person. Boom, death penalty.
Yeah, French Revolution
style. That's what I'm saying. So, like, I'm certainly not trying to defend any of those things you're trying to say. Obviously, yes, I'm not saying no consequences, everybody do whatever they want. I'm just saying, I don't know if, I guess maybe this would be an interesting study of criminals, right? Which these are the people we should be doing these studies on, trying to figure out how to stop it. They're sitting in jail anyway, might as well. Before you committed X crime, did the consequence of what you were possibly doing, did that impact your thought? If you knew the death penalty was a 90% possibility, would that have impacted your decision at all? And I think that'd be a good study to try to get
rational thinking people.
That's what I'm saying. So the death penalty, in terms of
here's the thing, I think
deterrence isn't a thing anyway.
But this is not a rational thinking person. This is a person who is trying to bring harm to society and who is a major threat to innocent people. And again, if they're lighting people on fire, if they're raping little girls, if they're trying to, whatever they're trying to do, blow up people, shoot people, these are not people that we can rationalize with and say, well, we hope you get better after 40 years and you sat in the corner to think about it. This isn't a reasonable way to go through justice or the justice system. There are some people that, I'm sorry, you forfeited your right to life because of what you did. Decisions have consequences.
Yes. I don't know.
Again, I just think there are certain things where if you cross the line, it is what it is at that point, right? There's no going back. You can't change it. You can't modify it. I think, too, our society, we over-blame things on mental faculties, but sometimes things are just evil.
Yeah.
People do evil things, and you can say, well, it was this or it was that. Well, no, that was just evil. And I think Josh said it earlier, like you have to snuff it out at some point, right? You can't just let it linger and fester. And to your point, like, would they have stopped? I think it's interesting, and you can look this up. A lot of, like, serial killers and things like that, they usually start on small animals and work their way up. It's a progression. A lot of these big crimes are a progression. So if you stop it earlier, and the person seems like they can't stop, right? Every time they get out, it's something next in the ladder. Well, I think the government's role in protecting people is to say, hey, we see where this is going. Now, do they know that 100%? No, because they're not omniscient, but to the best of their ability, could they have stopped something? Yeah. And they're culpable for that.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe that's the agreement that we have, is that the justice system does have some major flaws and issues that we need to fix, we need to clean up, and there shouldn't be these repeat offenders 70 times. You think of the analogy of Lady Justice, right? What's she doing? First of all, she's blind, right? She's just listening to the facts of the case. She's not looking at any exterior factors in that sense, but she's weighing the scales. And when that scale hits the ground on one side, and it says, wow, the evidence is so heavy, it's so much, this person's created such a heinous crime against society, against their neighbor, against God, then yes, once that hits here, I'm sorry, that was the sound of the forfeiting of your life because of the decisions that you made. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is.
And I think, too, like, the argument could be made, Or what if that person was innocent and then you kill them? We do it with medicine. You take a pill, it may kill 1% of the people but the 99% that it helps, good. And we take them and we give them. Doctors prescribe these drugs. Why? Because it'll help more people than it'll harm. And you can listen. The end of commercials is like, you may have this, and list off 90 different things. With this, the death penalty, 1% of the people may be innocent people, and that is
that doesn't happen.
Well, I'm saying that's bad, but if you can save the lives of the 99%, that could be millions of people. And again, I'm not saying that any innocent person should die, but I am saying if that is the consequence of trying to protect society writ large, then no government is perfect, no justice system is perfect.
Unfortunately, not on this side of heaven, right?
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for us here at the Davis Download. Thank you for tuning in.